Okay, good morning, everybody, or I guess it's afternoon now. I'd like to welcome you to the second installment of the Sustainable St. John Fall Speaker Series. So today we're here with the Gaia project and the Smart Energy Company to discuss the opportunities and lesson learned and how they've survived sustainably throughout, throughout the last several months. Before we begin, I'd just like to kind of go through some house rules. So we've changed our platforms to Zoom meetings. So within this platform, it does give kind of all participants the opportunity to share their video and also to speak. So I just ask that you all make sure that you are muted, so your microphones are off, and that your video is also off. Great. So let's get started. So I think first we'll ask our first presenter. So that is I think it was Sarah. Was that correct? Sarah, Smart Energy Company?
We were going to have Jane.
Okay.
Actually. Yep.
Okay, perfect. So great. So Jane's representing the Gaia project, and she joined them in 2016 as a program delivery officer and is now the communications manager. So Jane holds a bachelor in environmental science from St. Mary's, and so she's now working with the Gaia project, and her main goal is to further inspire climate action among the youth of our province. So I'll pass it over to Jane.
Hi. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm just going to get my presentation loaded up here and then we'll get started. Share screen. All right, are we good to go? Can everyone see my presentation?
We're good.
All right. So like Megan explained, my name is Jane Burchill. I'm the communications manager at the Gaia project. I've been here now for 4 years, and I started as a program delivery officer, leading some climate action projects in New Brunswick schools. And now I manage all of our communications at the Gaia project. If you're not familiar with the Gaia project, we're a provincial nonprofit that has been working in New Brunswick schools for over 10 years. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary in 2019. And our mission is to empower youth to take action on climate change through education. And we have many partners in the province and a very important partnership with the Department of Education. And I just have a short video here to kind of give you a sense of what we do in the classroom. And this video is from 2018 when we won the Education Award through MB Power's Energy Efficiency Excellence Awards. So I'm just gonna play this.
Smart habits formed early make all the difference. That could be the motto of the Gaia Project, a nonprofit charitable organization with the mission to empower youth to take action on climate change. Since 2009, they have been leading classroom-based programs related to energy, waste, water, transportation, and general sustainability for New Brunswick students grades 4 to 12. These programs have had great impact on students' energy literacy levels, climate change education, and in many cases, tangible shifts in energy use at schools. Their long-term hope is that present and future generations of youth will become members of society that rank the environment, energy efficiency, and climate change as issues of the utmost importance. Energy efficiency is not just about finding the next big solution to save large amounts of energy. Every little bit counts, so finding small ways to improve efficiency in your everyday life can add up. The overall impact is greater than the sum of its parts.
All right, so that should give you a little idea of what we do here in New Brunswick. And one of our main goals is to work towards the Sustainable Development Goal number 13, which is climate action. So the United Nations about 5 years ago came up with 17 goals for the whole world to work towards. And the one we focus mostly on at the Gaia project is climate action. So leading climate action projects in schools with students. And these are some of our best pictures working with students in person when we used to be able to do that. I'm going to go into a little bit about what we do now due to the pandemic and school closures. So pre-pandemic, our mandate was to actually go into classrooms and deliver climate action projects with students all over the province. And we had 5 eco-themed programs, which we led from grade 3 to grade 12. And right before the pandemic, it seemed like everything was going great with Gaia. Our funding was increasing. We really had some momentum. Our brand awareness was growing. Our staff team was growing. And we were reaching more students than ever with about 10,000 students every school year. And then we're all familiar with school closures on March 13th. Many of you, I'm sure, have kids at home who then had to be at home with you while you were working from home. And our business plan needed to change because our mandate, like I said, was to go to schools and work with students in person. And that was no longer an option. So when schools closed, it was a very hectic moment for the Gaia project. We weren't sure, what our next step would be. So there was many hours and many meetings. I'm sure you all had similar situations. We had to revise our funding agreements with many of our longtime sponsors. And the big question was, how are we going to deliver on our mission with students now working from home? So from that problem, there was an opportunity that was presented to us. And we built a program called Gaia's Climate Quest. And just 17 days after schools closed, we launched this program. And it consisted of daily eco-conscious activities for kids at home for the month of April. So we really still wanted to provide climate education towards students, but now that they were at home, we had to find a new avenue. And we had 800 families join our mailing list for the daily activities. New teachers reached out to us because they were now kind of in that in-between phase of working with students from home for the first time, and they were looking for activities. And we also had an increase on our social media. And these pictures are kind of some of the different activities we had created, and our staff team was busy every single day creating new activities. We had daily themes, so there was Meals Monday, Turn It Off Tuesday, Wilderness Wednesday, Trash Thursday, and Fridays for Future. And every day we emailed out new activities, new videos to our new mailing list. So from chaos breeds opportunity. And the opportunity for us and many other businesses was to reach an underserved or new audience. And we also had downtime because normally we're in schools almost 4 to 5 days a week. And now our whole staff team was stuck at home with time on their hands. So a lot of projects that we had on the back burner, we now had time to focus on those and really refine a lot of our programs and create new materials. And then we found also a new need that our audience was now looking for activities to do at home with their students. And we also had an opportunity to reallocate funds, which I'll talk a little bit about in a minute. Some of the lessons we learned from this pivot during the pandemic was our team is capable of a lot more than we thought. At the beginning, we were really stressed out, and our executive director was putting a lot of harsh deadlines on us to get things started because we really wanted to emerge as a leader in climate change education in the province. And we thought if we waited too long, then we would miss our opportunity. So our team really came through, and we came up with a daily activity for the whole month of April when school was closed on March 17th. So we really impressed ourselves, and now we've really set the bar high for our executive director when she's giving us projects. And especially relevant for the nonprofit sector. If any of you are in the nonprofit sector, you definitely have an opportunity to reallocate funds, because in the new normal, maybe you're not working at your office as much, so there's energy savings there. Maybe your team isn't driving as much, so you have mileage savings. And we worked with our funders to reallocate the funds to different things, which we'd always had on the back burner, and they were kind of dream projects, and we got to focus on those. And you can also service your audience or find a new one. It just may look a little different. So for the Gaia project, our audience had always historically been teachers and students, but with this new pivot in the pandemic, we were able to reach a totally new audience of families and parents and community members, which were now looking for activities to give their students working from home. And also we noticed much of what we created during this pandemic, we were able to reutilize in other ways. And this fall, we're able to use a lot of the content that we created back then and send out to teachers who are now still looking for activities to do with their students. So what Gaia looks like now, a lot has changed in the past couple of months for us. Schools are open again, but there really is restricted access to who can enter schools. So over the summer, we really moved all of our key programs to online, virtual content for our teachers who are now still looking for programs to do with their students. We had a lot of time to refine our program materials. So like I said, some dream projects that we had on the back burner, we were able to accomplish with more time and reallocating our funds. And we also created new offerings for teachers. So this picture here on the right is our new 50 Classroom Climate Action Scratch As You Go poster, which students can create, or students can accomplish different climate actions. For example, a litterless lunch, and then scratch that off the poster. And we've really benefited from this new format. We've already reached over 19,000 students this semester alone, which is almost a 300% increase from past semesters. So this new format really has helped us expand our audience and our reach to New Brunswick schools. I just want to mention we do have a current opportunity at the Gaia project. We're hiring a communications and networking coordinator, and the key role in this position would be connecting New Brunswick youth with green careers in the New Brunswick clean growth economy. And the new staff will be leading this project. So we're really keen to introduce high school students to green careers in the province. So we're looking for a new staff member to kind of lead that initiative. And then they'd also be assisting me on communications tasks as assigned. So that job posting is live on Career Beacon. If anyone is interested, or if you have someone in mind that might be interested, you can go ahead and share that with them. So if you are interested in joining our movement towards climate change education, say for example, you want your child's teacher to get involved, you can send them to our website at thegaiaproject.ca. We have a bundle of free resources on there for teachers, including the poster, including a few project-based programs that we can work with them virtually on. You can also follow us on social media or donate on our website or become one of our corporate or government sponsors. Thank you. That is all. And I'll be answering some questions at the end of the presentation as well.
Great, thanks very much, Jane. You know, it's really great to hear how the Gaia project's expanded through all of this, and you know, see kind of the benefits that have come out of a very difficult situation. That's great. And as Jane mentioned, we will hold questions till the end, and there's the chat bar. So what we'll do is just have you please submit your questions to the chat, and then we'll address them at the end of the presentation. So next up, we have Sarah Berry. Sarah works with the Smart Energy Company. They're a company whose main mission is to help businesses find a pathway to implementing sustainable energy and a carbon neutral future. So Sarah started at the Smart Energy Company about 3 years ago, and she is the operations manager. So I'll let her tell you a little bit more about herself and about the opportunities that the Smart Energy Company's realized.
Hi, everyone. Oh. Good afternoon. Thanks, Jane, and thanks, Megan. As Megan was saying, my name is Sarah, and I'm with the Smart Energy Company here. I am the COO and Director of Operations, and I've been here since early 2018, and it has definitely been a roller coaster because we are still a young company. So I'm just going to get my presentation here. All right, and hopefully everybody can see that.
Yeah, we see it there, Sarah. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks, Megan. Okay, so who are we? We are a renewable and sustainable energy developer in New Brunswick. We have Since 2016, installed over 2,000 solar panels for New Brunswick and our agricultural community, for local businesses and organizations, and for homeowners as well. It equates to about 500 kilowatt of solar generation, and that can power up to 37 homes if anybody needs to put that in relation to something for an entire year. We also installed the first solar generating farm outside of Sussex in New Brunswick, and I'm sure many of you have heard of that. If not, certainly look it up, it's interesting. We really foster innovation within our province with a focus on New Brunswick, made and Canadian made first mentality, using local resources and businesses. Some of you may know us as NextGen, and throughout the last year or so, we went through a brand transition to better align with what it is that we do. There's a lot of NextGens out there, one being a uranium company, which definitely does not relate to us. So the Smart Energy Company became a much more descriptive way of who we are today. We really want to empower the transition to sustainable energy in New Brunswick through education and designing and constructing of smart energy systems for our New Brunswick energy users. We have a changing world, and we want to be ones that are building the solutions to address these impending energy challenges, and want to be able to kind of help everybody through that. So a few things about us. We are a small but mighty group of individuals. I don't know why that keeps doing that. I'm so sorry. One sec here. I'll just leave it here. And we all have, we're all here for a shared vision for a more sustainable now and future for New Brunswick. We're driven by our passion and our accountability to our community and our environment. And we have a strong drive to promote change where it is overdue. We have a willingness to accept ownership of our environmental impact. And prior to the pandemic, we were very much so on an upward momentum with the growth of our company internally, project-wise, and with meaningful partnerships. So then the pandemic hit. Thankfully, as a young business, curveballs are and still are a regular for us. So then we throw in a global pandemic and great, it's just another curveball. The days leading up to the eventual state of emergency announcement, it felt like it was so far from us, but each day we kind of watched with nervous and unwanted anticipation. We're seeing kids forced to isolate after March break vacations, my daughter being one of them. It began to feel much more real. So because of this, we kind of knew what was coming, and our leadership team knew that we had to ensure that we took care of the team and the business at the same time. We did close shop, and we had to lay off all of the members of our team once the state of emergency was announced. That's next day. The first few days really forced us to all personally have a chance to swallow and accept what was happening. I know for me, it was quite a confusing time, and I imagine it was for everybody because none of us have ever gone through this before. So once those days kind of passed and we had our moment, and we had a moment to kind of regroup, and as a small business, a moment is all that you have sometimes to survive. We knew that we had to get through this. That's the mantra we continually had to tell ourselves. Even when it felt like we weren't, failure was just not an option. So yes, there were layoffs, project cancellations, of course, our office closure, and it caused a lot of anxiety and nausea for sure, and insomnia. I definitely had a lot of sleepless nights, and I can certainly say the same for the rest of our team. So once we had a chance to kind of regroup, have some time to kind of think where we were going, we were able to kind of bring some brainstorming ideas to the table. So during our closure, there were the expected range of mixed emotions that I guess you would expect during a pandemic. But with anything, there is opportunity. We took it a few days at a time to reassess and reevaluate based on the ever-evolving situation. We were taking it a day or two at a time because it just seemed to be changing considerably. As a team, though, we took on the technology that we are blessed to have during a time like this. If it had been any other time, without video calls and cell phones and all of these technology that we have at our fingertips, I think it would have been a whole lot harder. So we had countless team video meetings and phone calls with individual and team goals and objectives. We kept everyone engaged and involved. We felt this was important, not just as a team, but knowing that any individual going through this, it was really important to keep that human connection as much as we could. We're like a family here, and we wanted to make sure that we were keeping in touch and whether it was something small we were working on, it was still something. And it was volunteered time, whether it was our commitment, drive, passion, or even distraction. We all kept working together from our makeshift home offices, couches, kitchen tables, some of us hiding in closets from their shack-wacky children. We knew we had to do this to ensure we had a work, home, and family to come back to. So with hard work, some sleepless nights, and tears, yes, definitely tears, we got to the point of being able to safely reopen our doors and bring everyone back gradually. I don't say this lightly either, as I am sure all of you have had to painstakingly read through and adapt to the guide to embracing the new normal and the operational plan outline. But we did it with persistence and perseverance. And in all honesty, some of us struggled with knowing how to approach businesses when we knew that we weren't the only ones struggling. But we wanted to help more than ever now, and we had to figure out ways to kind of push forward. Remorsefully, we did see and still see businesses forced to close, and it's definitely heartbreaking. So we have truly been fortunate in this situation and really want to be able to kind of see where we can help. But we did also see others who had the will and the need to survive. Over the months of our soft reopening, we found a need in a particular sector, and that's our agricultural. Food security has become a thought on everyone's mind, and we knew that that's somewhere we could help. So throughout this 5-year feeling 2020, we were very fortunate to have worked with some farms across New Brunswick. And the reason doing this was, like I said before, there is a lot of worry around food security and the future of it. And we should be helping our New Brunswick neighbors and our community and the people that can secure that future of that. So what we did is we helped with trying to secure their farm's future, and not just their future, but right now. Installing solar has become an ability to kind of secure energy costs and business continuity, more certainty, and being more prepared for what may be thrown their way. It kind of helps with stabilizing operational expense in an unpredictable future, protecting them from power outages in rural areas where there's loss of working days and security, and ultimately creating jobs and fostering innovation. And that enabled for our growth in province technology companies. So this is just a few of the farms that we have worked with. There's, if you want to look any further into them, they had participated in Open Farm Day through the Agricultural Alliance, and they're also on our website. And you can feel free to reach out to us at any time if you have any questions about that. So we had to keep on keeping on. That has become kind of the motto and mantra of what is going on, and it is still right now. We're not at the end of this. This is still going to be a very long road. And I'll admit that I was a little taken aback when first asked to jointly present with Jane and the Gaia project on this topic. In the past, I've worked with Jane in the Gaia project, and it has been on topics of shared passion. It's been easy to get lost, though, in the noise of everything that's going on in our world today, and sometimes it feels like you're in your own little bubble of survival. So when asked, it popped me out of that bubble, realizing that we are all going through this. And being able to speak in unity, to offer any bit of advice, guidance, or even an ear to listen during this time, I feel we all have a responsibility in doing what we can to support our community and our local businesses and organizations. Personally and professionally, this entire experience has been enlightening, challenging, opportunistic, and sometimes overwhelming. I can't speak for all businesses out there, and I know that I never could. Our experience is one in many, and we still have a long road to go down. But what we have learned from all of this is that even if it is a long, hard road, we have to keep keeping on. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for listening and everybody taking part in this. I hope that it was helpful, and I'm, as well as Jane, available for questions.
Thanks very much, Sarah. You know, certainly we appreciate your, you know, your candid account of, you know, the start of the pandemic and what you've been going through during it. I think we can all relate. So that's much appreciated and very interesting to, you know, to hear about the opportunities. So the agricultural sector, that's, you know, that's an interesting avenue that I wouldn't have thought of otherwise. So great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so if anyone has questions for Jane or Sarah, please feel free to type them in the chat bar, and then we'll just kind of go ahead and we'll watch them come in and answer them as they come in. And so while we're kind of waiting to see if you know, if there are any questions, I wondered if Jane, I could get your thoughts on you know, where you're going with the future of Gaia. So, you know, you've seen kind of this transition during this time, and what does I mean, nobody really knows what the future looks like for sure, of course, in terms of how much things are going to open up and when, but I wonder if you could just comment on that.
Yeah, so the landscape for us definitely is a lot different than before the pandemic. Like I said, with the restricted access to entering schools, that's been a big curveball for us. So in the future, we're really looking to offer a lot of our programs and projects virtually. So we've been, so far this semester, meeting with students and teachers virtually through Microsoft Teams. They all have that set up in the school system, which has been great. And our main like project-based learning programs, which are really kind of like in-depth climate action projects, those are the ones we put a lot of time and effort into. And then we do have a lot of one-off activities and programs like the poster and downloadable PDFs. So we've kind of shifted to be more versatile so that we can still, if school does open back up, we have our core programs down pat and we can continue leading them with even better resources than we have before. But we kind of have this backup plan now that we're doing right now, which is having everything virtually available for students and teachers. And so far this semester, like I said, and you saw with the numbers, it seems to be something teachers are really looking for. And it definitely helps them save time with lesson planning, which I think a lot of teachers, if you guys are teachers or if you know teachers, I think with this post-pandemic school opening, they're kind of stressed out, and having less time to plan lessons for their students is definitely a benefit for them.
Great. And we'll just keep you on there. I see a question on, so the success of your projects that you do with your kids. How do you, is there, do you have a means for evaluating that?
Yeah, so we evaluate in a few different ways. A lot of times we have post surveys that teachers and students will fill out to kind of understand what knowledge they've gained, how their attitudes towards climate change and energy topics has changed. And we also get a lot of testimonials from teachers and students, and that's our main ways of evaluating. And then a lot of our funders are more interested in, what is our reach, like how many students are we reaching? So we also have that quantifiable number as well.
Great. So I think the next question is for Sarah. So the question is, so why does the agricultural sector show more interest than others, do you think?
I think right now I mostly showcased agricultural just because of that food security. Farmers have a tendency to be able to think long term. That is the way that they run their businesses. We have and do still work with other businesses and organizations in installing solar. But with farmers, they understand that, and this might answer one of the other questions that I see come up here. A return on investment for solar is not 5 to 10 years. It's not right away, but it's a smarter investment. And I think farmers have that ability to see that rather than renting your energy from the utility. Now you have an asset, you own this. It's like renting a home versus mortgaging a home. So that return on investment, it isn't quick, but you're putting your money into something that you would be normally putting into anyways, and now you own it, and you're sustainable and able to be independent as well. So.
Great point. Yeah, and I think you did answer 2 questions there, so that's excellent. Yeah.
2 birds with 1 stone.
Yeah, good job, Sarah. Okay, so then we have a question from Michael. I'm actually going to unmute him because he's got other things on the go, so it's difficult for him to type. Just hold on, Michael. Let me find you here.
This little creature that I'm holding, so I couldn't easily type with the other hand. Okay. My question is about how you see the impact of the pandemic on how we can actually be more, how the population became more aware of possibilities to act differently. Like, I'll just compare, because I lived the beginning of the pandemic in Montreal. Now I'm living in Saint John, and I'm just discovering what's going on around here. In Montreal, in the beginning of the pandemic, we realized that things that we thought would be going on forever could just be shut down if science is followed as the guideline, because all our health was in question, and like our parents were dying, or friends and everything. So we realized that that was kind of a positive aspect, and I'd like to see how New Brunswick has lived that like kind of awareness. Positive in the sense that if we were to imagine a scenario to like seriously attack climate change issues, it might mean making drastic changes to how economy works. And at the same time, there's been a lot of turn towards eating more locally, supporting local businesses, and all this like a reconversion of the economy that was not discussed so widely has now become discussed. But on the other hand, I saw that the government were trying to restart the economy and doing this in the most direct and unregulated way to make it start over. So we had like the backlash of, okay, now that it's gone, we have just to start business as usual. And there's been resistance to that. So I was wondering in New Brunswick if you've had a similar dynamic, or maybe you weren't hit so like directly. I don't know if there's a difference, but it's still been hit a lot. So yeah.
Okay, thanks, Michael. I'll just ask you to turn off your video and mute your microphone now.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you. So Sarah or Jane, did either of you want to comment on that, kind of what we've experienced in New Brunswick here?
I'll say a little bit, but New Brunswick, Atlantic Canada itself, I think when it was first kind of coming about in March, you know, everybody was kind of scared into their homes and everything shut down. And, you know, when I say us as a small business had a time to kind of reassess, reevaluate, and kind of regroup, I think as a province, that's what we had to do as well. So there was probably a lot of knee-jerk reaction, and based on what was going on around the world today, and in our neighboring provinces. So, you know, Montreal, from what I've seen, has had a very different outlook as compared to New Brunswick, and we are very, very thankful for that. But now, yes, we are seeing that reopening, and I think everybody seems to be a little bit more prepared now if there is a substantial second wave. Unfortunately, you know, you see Moncton going through it, but they, you know, if we can just kind of follow the guidelines, we have so much more information at our fingertips now. There's so much more involvement. You know, we have WorkSafe New Brunswick, the government of New Brunswick, Department of Public Safety. You know, all those people are working together now, and I think that has really helped with New Brunswick and our economy. And to kind of mark on your point too, Michael, about you know, a more focus on climate change and making some really harsh decisions. You know, I think this pandemic, it feels like it kind of forced people to see things and think in a different light. We have seen an uptick in people interested in renewable energy, and I think it's because they want to have that independence. And I don't ever want to use the word apocalyptic or anything like that. That is not a great word, but it certainly caused people to kind of shift. And I've certainly seen it. I don't know if you have too, Jane. I mean, you're kind of involved in this considerably on the youth side. So hopefully that answers a little bit.
Yeah, Jane, did you want to comment as well?
Sure. I just want to say welcome to New Brunswick, first of all, Michael. Yeah, I think when the world shut down due to the pandemic, it really gave everyone a chance to reevaluate, you know, what's important. And when it comes to climate change, we've been saying for years, you know, we need these societal changes and we need behavior changes. And I think a lot of people didn't think we were capable of big changes. And then after the pandemic happened, we saw everyone was able to shift their behavior so quickly in order to protect themselves and their family. And I think some of us, you know, view climate change as a big threat, and to change our behaviors to reduce that threat to our friends and family. I think a lot of us now think maybe it is possible that we can make these changes. And with, you know, the province and Canada and the whole world shutting down and the economy shutting down, there's this big push to reopen the economy better than normal. And we shouldn't go back to those old systems that are failing so many different communities and failing our environment. So I'm hopeful that we can, you know, come back better than normal and, you know, learn lessons from the pandemic. But I think there is a sense of hope that people who before the pandemic were really concerned with climate change, that, you know, societal change is possible. So it kind of gives us that narrative as well.
Great, excellent. Thanks, thanks, Jane. Both great answers to that question. And yes, welcome to New Brunswick, Michael. Okay, we just have a couple more questions. Let's see. So with the pandemic helping the environment, is there more awareness support of your initiatives? And what have we learned that's positive with the pandemic that will further support the environment? So I don't know, maybe that was, you know, kind of answered in the last question. Did either of you have anything to add to that, or I think that was kind of answered? Yeah, it was a very similar question. Okay, and then kind of the last one we see here. So with the New Brunswick climate and environment, what has been the reliability of solar installations, and what warranties should people expect? So that'd be for you, Sarah.
I mean, Jane can try.
Maybe Jane can answer it too.
Yeah. So there are a lot of ideas and myths around solar, especially in New Brunswick. You know, we have our cloudy, foggy days, and our winters are not the greatest and not getting any better. However, with solar, there's an economy of scale here. So with solar, there's so much technology now that a lot of people aren't aware of unless you're in that. And you know, for example, there's bifacial solar panels, so they produce on both sides. So if you do have snow, you have reflection of the snow kind of going into the solar panel and energizing and producing energy, which ultimately creates some heat, which will melt off snow, because that's another myth of that as well. I guess as an example, we have the solar generating farm outside of Sussex, and sometimes with solar, there is a theoretical model, and we are as scientific and engineered as possible. And now looking at the data for the last 3 years from this farm, it is well above what we had anticipated. And, you know, for us to see that in New Brunswick, maybe we need to do a better job of sharing that and letting people know, like, the solar industry here is extremely possible. We've worked with St. John Energy in a number of different projects and research, trying to determine what's best here and what works best for solar here in not just St. John, but across New Brunswick. So hopefully that kind of answers your questions. If you have more detailed technical questions, certainly feel free to email me. I could go on for a long time about this.
I did hear one fact once that New Brunswick has the sunniest winters of all provinces, which we don't notice because we live here day to day, but if you compare it to the other provinces. So I do know that.
Like it. That's a good fact. Great. So are there any other questions? Does anyone have anything else? I don't see anything else coming through in the chat there. So yeah, I think we'll leave it at that. So thanks to Jane and Sarah, the Gaia Project and the Smart Energy Company, you know, for presenting today and the discussion that we've kind of seen here. Yeah, so if there are any other questions, certainly you can forward them to Sustainable St. John or reach out to the Gaia Project or Smart Energy Company directly as well for that. So thanks everybody. It's been a great session, and certainly if you require any more information about Sustainable St. John or want to get involved, feel free to reach out as well. So it's info@sustainable.st